Now, apparently the friendliest neighborhood in Sarasota is not in Siesta Key, it's not in Lakewood Ranch, it's not anywhere where people moving here might think it would be, because according to some recent data from the Nextdoor app of all places, there's one neighborhood that has actually stood out as been top of the list for community interaction and friendliness, and that's what I'm going to show you today. So let's jump in and take a look. Now, this article from the Sarasota Magazine, it breaks down some of the friendliest neighborhoods here in town. So I thought it'd be interesting to go through the list and kind of show you where these areas are on the map and give you my honest take of where I think, this ranking makes sense. The rankings are based on, as I say, the Nextdoor data. And essentially what they have judged by this is neighborhood engagement, things like welcoming new neighbors, helping each other out, recommending businesses in the area, or just sort of generally interacting with each other in the community. So in theory, the more active and more supportive, the neighborhood is, the higher this friendliness index is going to be. Now, obviously, there is going to be some limitations to a survey like this, because not everybody uses Nextdoor. In fact, I was on it for a while and I was just getting spammed with notifications, so I got rid of it. But it's still an interesting snapshot of which communities appear to have strong neighborhood feel, which, if that's for you, absolutely. This could be right up your street. So the first neighborhood we're going to look at here is Gulfgate. Okay, now, to be honest, this one doesn't surprise me at all, because Gulfgate, let's go take a look at the map here, is just located east of Siesta Key here, very accessible to downtown. You've got the Tamiami Trail running right next to it. It's one of the few places of Sarasota where you can actually get a fairly walkable restaurant and bar district. There's loads of different independent mom and pop restaurants, bars, pubs, dive bars to restaurants, to bakeries, to coffee shops. So this one really doesn't surprise me. Because of that, it definitely tends to create a strong local community feel. In terms of the actual homes themselves, these are going to be more your mid-century 1960s, 1970s. So it's definitely not a master plan community. It's definitely more of a classic Sarasota neighborhood. You've got mature landscaping and a mix of sort of renovated and older homes. But for buyers, Gulfgate is often very attractive, right? Because you're still very close to Siesta Key. It's affordable compared to some areas here in town. And the prices are, as I say, generally more reasonable than some of the areas directly on the water. Now, the second neighborhood that they've recommended as been one of the friendliest is Phillippi Creek. So where is Phillippi Creek? Well, Phillippi Creek, if we can look at the map here, is this patch of water just running through. So it's kind of around Ridgewood Heights here. But again, another central established Sarasota neighborhood. So roughly runs across the creek itself. And as I say, sits between downtown Sarasota, Arlington Park, and Siesta Key. So here, again, you're going to find a lot of older homes, many on slightly larger lots, and some properties directly on the creek with boat access. So definitely tends to attract buyers who maybe want something that feels more established, rather than that brand new master plan community and subdivision type thing. It's also very convenient in terms of location as well, right? Definitely can get to downtown very quickly. Beaches, I-75, and then what's third on the most friendliest neighborhood here in Sarasota? Well, it is Brentwood Estates. So where's Brentwood Estates? Well, it's here, another central Sarasota neighborhood. I actually know this neighborhood very well because I live here. So yes, it doesn't surprise me that this has made the list. It's a very established family community here. People have lived here for many years. Everyone's very friendly. People know their neighbors. And as I say, prices are generally affordable. A lot of mid-century houses built in the 60s, 70s that are here, some single story, some two-story as well. But yeah, look, small neighborhoods like this often score well in community interaction simply because they're, quite tight-knit. People know their neighbors. As I say, most of the homes here are single family. They're quiet, leafy, residential suburban streets. Definitely more residential than somewhere with a commercial hub. And then the fourth friendliest is Whitfield. So Whitfield is actually north. It's near the airport here. Let's just zoom out. Near the airport here. So this is actually one of the older Sarasota neighborhoods. It has a lot of character. It's in between sort of Sarasota and on the way to Bradenton there. A lot of older homes, a lot of renovated homes, larger lots in some places as well. But yeah, it's also an area that, some buyers overlook sometimes because of its location. You know, between Sarasota and Bradenton, it can actually offer pretty good value compared to some of the more established central neighborhoods. And then fifth on the list is Southgate. Well, again, Southgate is very centrally here downtown. You can see it's just here near downtown Sarasota, close to Siesta Key. Also a neighborhood that has a strong identity, right? So a lot of people have lived here for decades, naturally contributes to a stronger sense of community. So look, this list is actually very interesting, isn't it? Because they have one thing in common compared to all of the stuff that's being built now. These are all older, established neighborhoods. They're not part of the larger master plan communities that we're seeing further east of I-75. You know, when neighborhoods have been around for a lot longer, you often get more longer term residents. And for that, they create their own culture, their own vibe, and a much more community interaction. I tend to find that sometimes in the newer developments, especially people might not necessarily be year-round residents, they may move more frequently, and obviously because of that, the dynamic can be a little different. So look, I would say if you're considering a move to Sarasota and having a sense of community is going to be important to you, right? It may actually be worth looking at some of these older established neighborhoods, because you know, just focusing on the new ones might not deliver the type of lifestyle and the friendliness and the community that you're looking for. But I will say, look, Sarasota has a huge range of neighborhoods, okay? Waterfront communities, golf courses, you know, historic neighborhoods, master plan communities, and obviously each one has its own type of personality. But anyway, look, if you're thinking about relocating to Sarasota and want help understanding neighborhoods, location, community vibe, feel free to reach out. You know, I do work with a lot of people in the area, and one of the biggest challenges is just simply understanding the location and how it is actually living there in terms of lifestyle. So yeah, look, if you enjoy this type of content and you know want a bit more of a breakdown on some specific Sarasota neighborhoods, maybe some local news trends, feel free to subscribe and like this video. You know, I try to cover as much things as regularly as I can. But otherwise, guys, I'll see you in the next one.